another blitz. Hurts takes it right up the gut. Touchdown Eagles. Here's the deep ball. Got hit as he let it go. Oh, Devontae Smith. What a catch. From 54 for the win. On the way. It is there. And the Eagles remain unbeaten.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Steven Maslij.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen?
Hope you guys had a very Merry Christmas, because we did over here. The Eagles won a big game against the Giants, 33-25. Definitely an interesting game. A little bit of back and forth. It felt like a bit of a domination, then it didn't. So let's hear what your initial thoughts are on the game, Maz.
I will say after the first half, I was happy. We were up 20-3 at halftime. All is well, looking like we can actually blow out a team and keep our foot on the gas pedal. And then the second half starts, and Boston Scott fumbles. We end up throwing a pick six later in the third quarter, and it was frustrating that the game had to come down to one drive of them even having a chance to tie it up at the end when Ringo got the interception. But Danny DeVito played so bad in the first half that he got benched. Tyrod comes in. He obviously had that nice pass to Slayton down the field. This game was just frustrating that we didn't we couldn't just murder a team. We couldn't just fully dominate a football game. And it seems like, I don't know if we ever will. And at this point, I've tried to give up on just like any expectations of us doing so. But it's overall, we dominated other than our 3 turnovers. And that's about it. Like, we should have dominated. We did, but we still make mistakes and we still let them back in the game. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, this was, obviously we're playing a bit of a lower end team in the Giants this week. And this is a team you kind of expect to blow out, being an 11-4 team as we are. And we did let it become closer than it needed to be. And this has been the story of the Eagles all year, unfortunately, where this is where I lose my confidence in them just a tiny bit, just because, like, they're a talented team. They're capable of doing it, but they shoot themselves in the foot so often that they leave teams in the game. Like, I've mentioned to you about this game already, that this game wouldn't have been close if you take away that ridiculous fumble between, Zacchaeus and Boston Scott, because what the hell was that? I mean, how do you even let that happen?
I don't know.
And why was Keely Ringo running towards our end zone? I saw the play. I saw what happened. I saw he tried to run in, he got pushed and he wrapped back around, but you should never sprint that direction ever. It felt so weird. Everything about it felt weird. And you take away that fumble, and I know you can't just take away pick sixes or anything, but that play wouldn't have been even close if Dallas Goedert didn't slip and fall. Wouldn't have been a pick six. It would have been a good play for a big gain. And, you take away those 2 plays, and that's a 14-point swing that the Giants don't have, and it's not close. It is a blowout. So this team did what they were supposed to. The offense played well. The defense played well. You had Hurts throwing for over 300 yards for the first time in quite a few weeks. You finally got DeAndre Swift over 20 carries, which is awesome to see. It still felt like they weren't using the run game in the correct times all the time. They got the carries in there, but they weren't using it to its full extent yet. But I like to see that he's finally getting some carries. Using DeAndre Swift more often is all anybody wants to see. And, it looked better. The play calling looked better in general. It just felt much more reasonable if you take away those 2 stupid plays. And on the defensive side of the ball, I do think they looked better this week, but you still can't be letting up that many points to Giants offense, especially when you've got Tommy DeVito getting benched early on in the game, bringing in Tyrod Taylor, who debatably is probably better than DeVito. DeVito was the 3rd-string quarterback to start the year. I know he was on his Linsanity run. He actually looked pretty good. I was actually very impressed with him so far this season, but the reality of it is that he's a 3rd-string quarterback. And, the Eagles went out there and won the game, but I still really just want to see them take that extra step stop making the mistakes and go out there and just play some clean football. And
No,
I know it's a little bit to ask for, but it just the fact that they have yet to like fully complete a game through 14 games this season just doesn't feel right. Like they have the ability. I just don't, that's where my last bit of irkness comes from. I did feel a little bit better watching this game, but they just shoot themselves in the foot and leave the other team in the game, and they just need to play cleaner football.
I mean, the thing I was frustrating about was our D-line, because this Giants O-line has been awful all season, giving up a ton of sacks. This was finally our time where our D-line can get back, get in a rhythm where we can put up some numbers. And Shaq Leonard got our only sack and our only one sack for the entire game. He actually had a great game from what I saw from anything he played before this point, before his old self with the Colts. But I was frustrated with – I was still frustrated with the play calling, believe it or not. I don't know. I mean, I know – I just wanted to – it just felt like we just weren't dominating on offense as we should have. Like we took our shots and it worked at times, but even like Smith after the game was in the locker room was saying this isn't like – I don't care about the 11 wins. We're not playing our best football. And
absolutely.
Everyone knows it. And it's just frustrating that I don't even know who to blame at this point. Like I don't have anyone to blame. I just had like this entire team just has so much more potential, and I just don't know what the problem is anymore. I can't blame it on anyone. I just don't know if it's Brian Johnson. I had to look at the box score to see Swift got 20 carries. Like I didn't even realize that during the game. Like I saw him getting the ball like here and there, but
that's what I was saying with like, they're not using it in the correct timely manner. Like It doesn't feel like he's getting 20 carries. It doesn't feel like he's getting the ball because they're not giving it to him when he's supposed to get it.
It was odd. You had different things where you have AJ Brown after the game not commenting and such. I don't read too much into that. Some people on Twitter were saying like trying to like read into it more. He just didn't want to get framed like a TO type in this. I mean, he doesn't really have to complain. I know Jason Avant had a whole tweet that I responded to about he shouldn't be complaining about getting 11 targets, blah, 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 blah. This team is just kind of weird right now. We just have to get these last two games through and get ourselves together, because we do not you can't do this in the playoffs at all. We're not going to win a playoff game if we play like this whatsoever. I'm still not happy with this team, even though we got to win. I was just like kind of exhaled like slightly that we were able to squeeze out this win, but I don't know, man. This team is just
Listen, I do want to put this out there, though. I know that they have had their struggles. It's been well documented through our podcast that we both feel very strongly about their struggles. It's frustrating to watch, but the point of the matter is that they are 11-4, and all the other good teams in this league so far, even the 49ers, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, at some point this season, including some right now, have had the question asked, is this team fraudulent? And the fact of the matter is that everybody goes through their struggles. Every team has had their struggles. Brock Purdy looked like the MVP, and then he comes out and throws 4 picks the next week. Dak Prescott comes out and puts up, 3 straight games of putting 40 points up, blowing teams out by 30 points. Then he comes out and loses by 20 the next week or something, we've seen the same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles, they go out and beat the teams they're supposed to, but then sometimes, it just happens that way in the league. You're not going to win all the time. It has been an ugly season for everybody in the league, but the fact of the matter is that we're still dead even with everybody else. We haven't had any bigger struggles than anybody else has had. We haven't, been. I don't even know what the right words to put it as are, but I'm not as worried as I was, while I'm watching the game. While I'm watching the game, it hurts. While I'm watching the game, it's a pain in the butt, and I'm getting pissed off, and I get it. Like it's me being a fan, but the point of it all is that we are still in contention for the number 1 seed. We are most likely going to not lock up the number 2 seed sooner or later, depending on how these next 2 games go. And we're going to have, a chance to make a run in the playoffs, because no matter what you look at, I still don't see any other teams that aren't playing mistake-free football. So, this league is still up in the air. Everybody has looked a little off this year. But, as long as the Eagles can win these next 2 games, play with some confidence, and go into the playoffs with a little bit of wind behind their sail, just off of a few wins, doesn't matter who the teams are, who it's against. If they are playing with confidence with a little bit of wind in their sail, I think they're going to be okay. Not to mention the 49ers might be losing their wind at the properly wrong time. You know what I mean? We don't know yet. We're going to see how they play this week. They're obviously playing the Commanders, so I'm expecting a bounce back win. But now you've got Brock Purdy a little bit banged up, and he just threw 4 picks, and he's a young quarterback. That's going to be on his mind. So, these are little factors that can come into play. And I just don't think any team is safe right now. I do think the Ravens look like the strongest team right now in terms of the way they've played all year. They've had their struggles too, but their struggles came pretty early on, and they've played a really strong back half of the season. Their defense looks dominant. Lamar Jackson's playing at an MVP level. Everybody wants to, nitpick his stats. Watch a game. Watch him play football. The dude's a freaking beast. I mean, he can run it. He can throw it. He makes good decisions. He doesn't play a lot. He doesn't throw a lot of turnovers. He's completing 68% of his completion percentage. Dude's having a stud year. I do hate the fact that the MVP has changed every single week, which just goes to show that this stupid QB award is just name it the best QB of the year. Take out the MVP in general if you're going to do this, because everybody and their mother knows that the MVP should be between CMC and Tyreek Hill. And it should probably be CMC because Tyreek unfortunately missed a couple games. But the fact of the matter is that none of these quarterbacks are playing as the best player in the league right now. But Lamar is definitely leading his team into the playoffs with a lot of wind behind their sails, and they're going to be really scary.
I mean, you mentioned MVP. I just wanted to go back to that for a second. I think McCaffrey, far and away, even in that game, he had a good game against the Ravens too. And he's what else does he need to do? Right now, he has almost 1,400 yards rushing. He has another, 500 receiving, and he has 20 touchdowns on the year. It's just annoying. I know, I was watching ESPN earlier, and Dan Orlovsky's like, "Oh, Lamar means more to his team, this and that," and then it's just a QB award. At the end of the day, like you said, that's what all it can be, and that's all that they're making it out to be. Because
I do understand that QB is the most valuable player on the team. You don't win without a QB. It's well documented. You can't win without a QB. But at the same time, you got to give it to the player that's playing the best in the league right now. That's what it should be. And that should be Christian McCaffrey this year.
So the other argument that they were having was, and this one makes it sound like the MVP is more like bias. You take Lamar out the Ravens and you take CMC out the Niners. Which team is worse off? You have to say the Ravens just for the pure fact, Lamar.
Yes, we know the quarterbacks are a more valuable position. We get that.
It's just exactly. That's all it is though. I know Lamar has great stats and he's had a great season. It just, I don't know. It just hasn't felt like he's been super, super dominant. You don't all season long as much as McCaffrey. He's got a touchdown every single game except one. And in that game, he goes over 100 yards rushing every game and over 50 receiving yards every game.
Take a stroll back to last year, right? With McCaffrey, everybody likes to say that McCaffrey's like a running back. Running backs aren't a super valuable position. Take a look back to the 49ers of last year before they got Christian McCaffrey. They were an average team. They were doing okay. I think they were a little bit above 500. Then they got McCaffrey. And I don't think they lost the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
He just a dimension to the offense that no one can replicate, at all.
Exactly. Exactly. You can't. There aren't any other Christian McCaffreys. There aren't.
No.
So, I get it. But that whole taking the players off the team and whatnot is a stupid argument because, you could say the same thing about, left tackles. If you take Lane Johnson off the Eagles or take Trent Williams off the 49ers, they become a significantly worse team. Yeah. And if you take Trent Williams off the team instead of Christian McCaffrey, it's probably more of an impact, right? Yeah. Am I right? So
earlier in the year,
because it's a more important position for I don't think I'm explaining it right, but I know you know what I mean.
No, the impact that they have on like the line matters for McCaffrey too. And it's obviously it's a big team game. And then the only point that people are able to like nitpick is quarterback, just because who gets the ball, who touches the ball most times a game, the quarterback. He always, no matter what, if it's a run play, it starts with him, unless you're running Wildcat. But like, you know what I mean? It's that's all it's gonna be. And you could even say like if you take like you can even make the argument like you take Mahomes off the Chiefs and McCaffrey. Like obviously Mahomes means more to that team, but that's not the argument that we're making for MVP. It should be the best player in the league.
Should be the best player in the season, like the player that played the best season out of everybody else.
It's a very weird like the definition of the game, and then that's why they have offensive player of the year basically for any skill position players, which is just so annoying.
Yeah,
and
we talked about the fact that like it is such a strange argument nowadays, because obviously we talked about the fact that Brock Purdy was the MVP favorite for a few weeks, right? We've also talked about the fact that Brock Purdy is probably like the third or fourth most valuable player on their team.
Yeah, like through and through. And it's
so like
it's just hilarious. He could have the best next two games like ever. He could have like set like Peyton Manning's record. He could do whatever he wants for the next two games, and he still won't get it because he just had such a poor performance against the Ravens. Got benched at half. Like it feels
like a joke. The MVP conversation does kind of feel like a joke this year. It's a little strange that they're being so blatant about it, that they're like, no, this is a QB award. Like, get it right. Like they're not even like trying to make it seem like it's close. Like,
and then
Christian McCaffrey has actually inched closer in odds than he's been all year, but even still,
number 2 right now on odds.
Even still, it's like it's still too high of odds. I actually almost want to throw a bet on it at this point. I wish I did sooner.
I mean, like, and I don't want to just get caught up in accolades because we're talking about this, but like, it's the recency bias on this league is like insane. Like that, like the Ravens are obviously the best team now. Like, right, they beat the Niners. The Niners were obviously the best team a week ago. Like, and then we were obviously the best team after we beat the Bills. Like, and it's in the recency, it's week to week, and you are like. That's who you are.
This is what I mean with the whole like this kind of goes with my point with the whole like every team has gone through something this year, and at some point everyone has asked about their team. Are we good or are we not?
But the thing about the Eagles is I haven't seen them perform to potential that I think this roster is able to. If that makes, and I have my standards too high, but just one time, Matt.
We talked about it early on in the season. We even have it clipped on our Instagram, our socials, everything. We said that this team felt like it almost had more talent than last year's team.
Yeah.
And it definitely doesn't feel like it after watching the season. But I'm not going to go back and change what I said from the beginning of the year, because the talent is there. Like, we have not been playing to our full potential, and I think everybody's aware of it. But at this point, our potential is we've set our potential. Like, this is what the team is. It's too late in the season to say that they can still, like, maybe they can, but I think it's a little late in the season to think that they're just going to get, they're going to hit full stride and just start, crushing teams the way we think they're supposed to.
No, so I just want to see a complete game. And if that wins, we even win by 10 points, it's okay. I just want to, and if we do, we won't win. We will dominate, but we just haven't got that complete game yet of just our full offense being able to dominate what we do best, which is run the ball. And this going into the Arizona Cardinals, bringing in since we are there, their run defense is awful, like awful, dude. We really got to get the ball. We have to I just want to dominate this team, dominate. And
absolutely.
And even then it's just like, you're just like waiting for the playoffs to see a good team again. Like if they lose either one of these games, like, it's just like, all right, like what are we doing? Like,
yeah, but I mean, I do think that it's, obviously we don't want to see either of us lose one of these games, and I don't expect us to. But the Cardinals are no slouch. I mean, they're not a good team, but they're not like they've played teams tough all year. So I'm not just going to say that we're going to walk away with this one. But at the same time, I'm not exactly worried walking into it either. Not to mention that I think fans have, started to forget that we're going to be getting Slay back soon. I don't know if it's this week or if it's going to be right before the playoffs. I'm not too sure. I didn't check. B, Avonte Maddox is going to be back before the playoffs, which is going to be huge. Everybody forgot about him because he's been gone all year. But if he's playing and he's healthy, then that's going to make a big difference in our secondary.
Get rid of Roby.
3, I didn't get to talk about it earlier, but we've been seeing a little bit of a breakout from Keely Ringo. And I don't want to go too far with him yet because he's still young. He's only started 2 games, and he's still got a lot to figure out. But in those 2 games, he's had 5 targets, allowed 3 receptions for 18 yards with a 25 passer rating and 1 interception, which is pretty solid. He's doing a good job so far. And we've been hearing a lot of rumblings about how he was, playing on the practice squad against the starters. They all had a lot of good things to say about him before he got his starting chance. And he looks like he's gearing up to be a really good player. And I'm hopeful that the way I see you getting a big smile, you can give your rebuttal in a second, but
I know
I'm hopeful that I don't want to see him starting. I want to see us at full health with Slay, Bradbury, and Maddox in our corners. But I wouldn't mind having him be the guy that does the rotations rather than Eli Ricks or who's our other guy, Josh Jobe. So, it gives me more confidence in our depth to see.
I'll give you a question. So you since he's playing so well, if he continues playing so well going into the playoffs, and Bradbury continues to, he played a subpar game against Seattle. He didn't look horrible in the Giants game, but I don't take this game as I honestly, that's why I don't like the hype, only because 1, that pick at the end meant nothing because it was a thrown up ball that just needed to get to the end zone. 2, the Giants receivers are awful. They're all the same, whether you want to take, Paris Campbell, Wendell Ramos, whatever. I don't even know. They're all the same guy to me. They're all just fast, speedy guys that can't run routes well. But my question is, and I heard this, is if you go into playoffs, are you automatically starting Bradbury no matter what?
Yes,
no matter
absolutely.
what.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I love the way that Keely has looked, but he's still a rookie. He still has a lot to learn, and you like you said, he's starting off his first 2 starts against 2 pretty bad teams, and I'm not terrible though. He was playing in the Seahawks game, right?
Yeah.
So
they were just targeting Bradbury.
Yeah, I know, but listen, we as fans have to stop forgetting how good all these pro athletes are. It doesn't matter if they're the worst team in the league or the best team in the league. These guys are pro athletes. And, the Giants guys, I get it. They're not on the higher echelon of receivers in the league. But the bottom line of it is that he's covering pro receivers and he's covering them well. And it's a good sign for things to come. I'm not starting him in the playoffs. He has not been in that environment before. He hasn't seen that level of receiver yet. Georgia. But it doesn't mean that he can't have some rotational play if Bradbury's, slacking a little bit. I don't mind them, giving a little bit of rotation time. I don't want him starting, but I wouldn't mind if they work him into it a little bit, get him his feel, and get him ready to be the starter probably next year. So,
yeah. I just don't. The only thing is, I love Keely Ringo, by the way. I wanted him in the first round before.
So did I. If we hadn't re-signed Bradbury and Slay, we probably would have taken him in the first round.
Yeah, but nonetheless, we got him in the fourth, and that's ridiculous. And I thought it was a steal, and I was very happy about it, and I'm still happy about it. I still want the kid to do really well, but I'm seeing stuff pop on my feed of him getting compared to Richard Sherman and stuff like this, where it's
you're going right back to the recency bias that we just talked about.
I know, and I hate it.
For whatever reason, the league has been that way this year. We have mentioned it in many podcasts this year. Like I mentioned with the Jordan Love early on, everybody was comparing him to Aaron Rodgers, saying oh, we got a little mini Aaron Rodgers over there. And he crapped the bed for 3 games, and everybody was like, oh, never mind, he's a bust. Forget it. Then he went back and did 3 more good games, and they're like, oh, never mind, he's still Aaron Rodgers. Don't worry, guys. Everybody chill the Frank really out, man. Weird. Everybody relax. Is it just me, but is it more this year than any other year? I feel like because this year has been very inconsistent from every team. I think that's why. I think that nobody's getting a very good gauge on anyone or anything this year because it's been jumping back and forth, even between the best teams and the worst teams. The Giants started out, not winning a game, looking absolutely atrocious. Then they go on like a 4 or 5 game winning streak. And, it's like now, and then they're ahead of the Commanders, who we thought were a decent team earlier this year, stuff like that. And the Chiefs, who started out, as the Chiefs, and now they're on a skid, and all of a sudden they might not be that good.
Matt, Joe Flacco is balling out on the Browns. If I told you that before the season, you would have been like, Steve,
I would have said you're crazy.
Get off your Madden, like from 2011, dude. Like, what are you talking about?
It's a very strange year this year.
This year is.
It has bounced back and forth for everybody and every team, and it's to an extent it's been frustrating to watch, but it's been fun. You don't know what's happening, you don't know what's coming, and it's unpredictable, and it does make the league more interesting and fun. But it's been a struggle for all fans around the country this year because, like Tom Brady said, everybody kind of crapped on Tom Brady for saying the league's looking a little mediocre. It is. It's a weird year this year. And maybe it just means that the competition is just getting better against each other. But
I don't know.
It has been a weirdly mediocre looking year. I don't think that any player, any single player outside of like Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek have looked dominant for a team this year. Like everybody's had their mistakes, everybody's had their struggles, and it's been interesting.
Like the Bills were counted out of the playoffs. Like they started out like the season like fine, and then they lost to the Patriots, and then they dropped 3 out of 4, losing Cincinnati and Denver, and then they lose to us, and then now they're on a 3-game streak against Kansas City, Dallas, and I mean the Chargers game was weird. They were in a close game with the Chargers. The Easton Stick is their quarterback without Keenan too. Like I don't.
It's weird, man. I mean, look at the Jaguars, who started 8-3, and now they're 8-7.
They might have made the playoffs.
Yeah. And they're going into a playoff reaching, game next week without Trevor Lawrence. So
it's against Carolina, it's a weird year, dude. I don't even know what to think of it. But all I do know is we are gonna kill the Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon's gonna try his hardest to motivate his team to come back. I just want our team to be like happy in the locker room. I don't know.
Yeah, I do too. I'm hopeful that they can get back to that feel good, buddy mentality that they started off the season with, and came in having fun. They're all very frustrated right now, and they're having trouble not letting out their competitive nature to their teammates right now because everybody's frustrated, everybody's a little pissed off, and I'm hopeful that these next 2 games can settle them a little bit and just have them in the right mindset going into the playoffs.
We have to,
but we have to take it one game at a time. So with that being said, what do you want to see going into this Cardinals game? And then, after you give me a few points, why don't you give me your score prediction?
Well, first off, I want to contain Kyler. If Kyler is playing, which he was out 2 days of practice this week with illness. So I think he's going to play. I doubt he won't play if he's even relatively healthy to go. But I want to
to an extent, this is a quarterback that's coming off an ACL tear, and they're not going anywhere. So they don't exactly have to be in a rush to put him back in either. I just want to throw that out there. But
and they're looking for a good draft pick too. So I mean, all year James Conner's been. We just have to keep an eye on James Conner and Kyler. Trey McBride's been great for them over the middle. Obviously our linebackers have struggled in coverage, and if we can just contain him and get pressure and stop the run, just get pressure on Kyler. Let him throw the ball downfield to Hollywood. I don't think he's good. We just have to not give him enough time.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but Hollywood's out as well.
Is he out?
Yeah.
Well, if we don't kill this team, I'm going to be very upset because Trey McBride is not doing anything. The Cardinals have nothing to play for. Their defense is god awful. I want to see us score 42 points on offense. I want to see us convert long drives into touchdowns is my main thing in this game. I don't want to see us kick field goals. We kicked 4 field goals last game against the Giants. I want to see us. We have long drives where they just resulted in a 30-yard field goal.
Absolutely. I've been saying it all year. They got to get better at finishing drives.
We have to finish drive this game. And honestly, I don't. No matter how mediocre our defense plays, I don't care. Our offense just has to dominate this game. And this is the defense they can clearly do it against. And we have to get back. I want to see consistent play calling. I need to see us run the ball. This Cardinals team is horrible against the run. They have been giving up 100 yards plus to if you combine Jalen Warren and Najee because they split carries. But I want to see Swift again get 20 touches. I want to see us just dominate this team. I want to see them gaining, coming out here crying. I want to see us just having fun, moving the ball, string plays together, set up plays, and just God damn, can we just do it one time before the end of the season?
Yeah, I gotta agree. So, what did you throw your score in there, or what's your
my score is going to be 42-10.
42-10, huh?
I think we're going to kill them.
All
I want
right.
to see us. Yeah.
I think I'm. I hate to add to the blowout call, but I think I'm with you on it to a little bit less of an extent. But I'm thinking 34-14. I do think that. I think James Conner is going to get one. I'm hopeful he's going to get one because he's on my fantasy team for the championship this week. So I hope, we can do our thing, make a big lead, and then let James Conner do his thing. I wouldn't mind it. But the worst part about fantasy is having to cheer against your own team. It sucks. But
fantasy chip.
Bottom line is, I think that they're gonna, they'll dink and dunk on us. They'll get a few things here and there, but we have to keep our foot on the gas. And bottom line, we have to finish drives because this team isn't going to be able to stop our offense as long as we can, not shoot ourselves in the foot and just play clean. So
clean,
I'm hopeful that this will be the game that they make the turnaround. I've been saying it all year. I've had the optimism. I know they're capable of it. Just like we talked about in this podcast, we still have yet to see them hit their full potential. And I am losing hope in terms of seeing them hit the full potential. But I wouldn't mind a little flash here. So I'm going to go 34.
I don't know if I'll be happy if I see it.
Huh?
I don't know if I'd be happy if I actually see it. I'd be like, oh, there it is.
I would.
Good. You're a better man to be. I'd be like, good, that's great. All right, beat the Giants next week.
Yeah, man. I mean, we still got to complete it out, and hopefully we can get a little help along the way. This week's a little bit weird because as Eagles fans, we unfortunately want Dallas to win this game this week, unfortunately.
Explain that scenario with the Lions if they went out and we went out.
To be completely honest, without having it in front of me, I don't know the full extent of it. I don't think they can beat us out.
Mike, I didn't believe my boss, but I haven't looked at all.
It might be a case in terms of they might have more conference wins if they beat.
But we
the Cowboys.
have the same amount of conference win now, and we're the 2 seed, and we play 2 NFC teams.
Yeah, I'll have to take a deep look at it.
I don't know exactly what the tiebreaker is because we have the same conference record at the moment. I don't know what the strength and everything.
That's the exact thing. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know who the Lions play in their last week, but if they were to beat the Cowboys this week, that would give them one more win in the conference over us. Then we play the Giants. But if they're also playing an NFC team,
we have the Cardinals too. Oh yeah, but yeah.
Then yeah, I'm not too sure, man. I'm pulling this stuff out of my butt, but I do know for a fact that we need the Lions to lose. We need the 49ers to lose, and the Cowboys don't really matter as long as we win out. So
yeah, because they play 2 NFC teams. I don't know exactly how the strength of the schedule and everything works, but some source in WIP said if they went out, we went out. But all right, whatever. Go. I'm not cheering for Dallas. I hope they get crushed, but maybe they have hope.
Yeah, I'm not cheering for them, but all I do know is that I will throw this out there as a stat against the Cowboys that every game this year in Monday Night Football, the underdog has won.
Well, it's Saturday Night Football now.
What? Did they move?
They moved it because of the college football playoffs. There's no Monday night this week.
Oh, really? Okay.
They moved it to tomorrow
I guess
night,
that takes away the little curse then, at least. But
I know.
But yeah, it was a funny stat that every underdog in Monday Night Football this year has won.
It's been crazy.
Yeah. So and going into it this week, the Cowboys are pretty heavily favored, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they? Like
they're 5.5, almost 6 points.
I saw them at 6.5 at one point. So I mean, either way, it's still a little crazy. But
I don't think if they can't stop the run, this Lions team is going to punch them in the throat. This Lions team is
they're good. They're really good.
If I had to choose a side, I mean, I hate Dallas, but the Lions don't have a defense. If they can make some stops on defense, then I think they win this game because their offense is very dominant. I think it's going to be a really high scoring game.
Yeah, probably. But let's not get sidetracked. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. This has been a good episode. We got a good week this week. Hopefully we can go into next week with another big dub. We'll be back reviewing the game and talking about next week's game next week. And hopefully, we can just keep this thing rolling into the playoffs. And hopefully we'll have a few extra podcasts to have for you guys this year.
Go into the new year with a smile.
Sure. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please feel free to like and subscribe. We always appreciate you guys tuning in. And I hope you guys enjoy your New Year's. Everybody stay safe out there. Make sure you're not too banged up, going into the Eagles game. And nothing too crazy. Let's just beat the teams we're supposed to beat, Mez.
Please.
So Go Birds. We'll see you guys next week and enjoy your new year.
Adios.